This is Erica Morphy from Globe Street TV. I am here at the CORFAC International Conference in Washington, D.C. I have with me Kurt Walsh from ProTen Realty, CORFAC International, and Brian Coakley from Donohoe Real Estate Services, CORFAC International. Thank you both for joining me. Today we will be talking about office, and in particular I want to start with Kurt. I understand CORFAC came out with a survey that bodes well for the industry.
Yes. We do a quarterly review of all the markets, all the office markets across the country, and 22 of the respondents says that the office market is increasing. 12 said that it was stable, not changing, and then only 3 said that it was decreasing. So across the board, it appears as if the office markets are all improving. And improving in the sense that there's more activity. There's activity, and vacancy rates probably are going down, and activity related to transactions are increasing.
Are there any markets that are doing very well, or what are the top performing markets that you find to be most interesting?
Well, I think that everybody knows that the Bay Area has seen a resurgence again. So that's really a strong market as it relates to a lot of companies going after not always a lot of space. So we actually are doing some transactions out in the Bay Area with a partner firm, TRI, with CORFAC, and we're seeing that concessions, you really don't get a lot of concessions as it relates to break in the rent, a lot of free rent, or a lot of tenant improvements. So that market is probably one of the strongest in the country.
And do you have any thoughts on the office market where you see the most activity?
Our overall market is 463 million feet, the Washington statistical metro area, but in the district, we have a vacancy of about 10 to 11%. And as you move out into the suburbs, closer in suburbs like Bethesda and Arlington, Virginia, Bethesda, Maryland, Arlington, Virginia are more like 11, 12%. But as you move further away from the CBD and the close-in suburbs, we're seeing some awful markets. Greenbelt, Maryland, for example, 27%. Gaithersburg, 20%. The Dulles corridor, depending on which end of it, 18%. And it's definitely a function of the environment here in Washington with the sequestration situation.
I was going to ask you about that. Are the vacancies more a factor of the economy, the local economy, or a factor of sequestration? And also, do you think it's going to get worse before it gets better? Sequestration is not going away. It's going to last 10 years unless, something is decided.
Since so much of our office space is driven ultimately by government contracting from the various agencies like National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, NIH, National Cancer Institute. Those contractors are directly, their business is directly related to what the government is allowing to happen. And it's affected the psyche of all these companies. And whereas before they might hold space and rent space, confident that contracts were rolling and coming up. It's a very unknown situation right now.
Kurt, could we talk a little bit more about incentives in the Chicago area specifically? We talked a little bit about the Bay Area, but I'm interested in Chicago too.
Chicago is active. We certainly aren't affected by the sequestration issue. Our economy is not based so much on government contracts and the like. So we see consistent activity, and the vacancy rates in the CBD, and we're about 200 million square feet in the CBD and about 200 million square feet in the suburbs. The vacancy rate in downtown is probably at the lowest level that it's been at in about 5 years, and but we're still seeing concessions, and the suburban market is still a hefty vacancy rate, which is 15% and above. And in Chicago, in the CBD, it's more like 13% to 15%.
I'd like to talk about the role of specific industries or sectors. For example, technology. I know it's an emerging space in D.C. I'm not quite sure about Chicago, but I was wondering what sectors are really driving the local economy and the local commercial real estate markets?
Well, in Chicago, I think that we still are seeing the major corporations that are based there, and pharmaceuticals is really a big part of our market in terms of users of space. So, the Abbotts, the Estellas, all of those users are taking a lot of space still, and so we're still seeing that as a driver in our market. But we're also seeing the technology sector increase in our market because we have a lot of organizations, quite a few organizations that are serving as incubators for startups, and that activity is really increasing in velocity. And in terms of technology in general, any technology portion of a company, even if they're a standard large headquarters in the suburbs, usually their e-commerce groups and their technology support groups are coming downtown in order to attract the younger workforce.
It's interesting. We just gave a presentation about a half an hour ago to our CORFAC meeting, and it's interesting to note that the Washington Metropolitan Statistical Area employs more tech workers by far than any other market. We have 340,000 technology workers compared to the next two behind us are the Bay Area with roughly 220 and Chicago with slightly over 200. And if I could suggest that there are probably two big areas, one would be the biotech. If you look at NIH in Bethesda, Maryland, almost nestled up against the District of Columbia, they have 15.5 million feet of space on their campus alone. And the other part of it is, call it defense and general technology. NSA, National Security Administration, up the road from D.C. in Laurel, Maryland, they employ 45,000 people there. And the business of cyber warfare and hardening our intelligence, there's an awful lot of people working on that you don't hear about, you don't see about it, but it's definitely going on.
Any other future trends in office that you see either on the horizon or that you hope might be on the horizon?
Well, in Chicago, we're seeing really this movement of e-commerce groups from the suburbs to downtown, with the intent of attracting and keeping the younger workforce, is a trend that we think is going to continue. And that bodes well for the downtown, although we've always had a very strong downtown because of our public transportation systems, which are quite extensive. And the workforce, the younger workforce, however, lives downtown, and usually on the north side, Lincoln Park, and easy commuting for them requires really a downtown or CBD location, because the reverse commute into the suburbs is actually quite difficult.
Ditto on that, what Kurt said. The other interesting thing is if you take Silver Spring, and I'm a native of Washington and grew up here, you can't comprehend the number of apartments and condos that are being delivered in downtown Silver Spring, and they're being populated by young people who want to work at NOAA and Discovery Channel. And the whole synergy of apartments next to your place of employment is so beyond the pale of people, I'm going to say Kurt's age as well as mine, where we were, we grew up as commuters, and you drive from here to there. And I agree with Kurt. These people want to live where they work and vice versa. And it's the residential development, I think, is really helping places like Bethesda, Arlington, and Silver Spring to blossom, because it's filling in all the spots. You're ending up with quality developments.
This is Erica Morphy from Globe Street TV. We were here with Kurt Walsh and Brian Coakley. Thank you both very much, and we will see you soon.